Welcome to today's weekly office hour calls. This happens every single Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, 1 p.m. Market Time, Eastern Standard. So glad that you guys are here. This is the call for the OAT Unlimited members, aka our OAT Inner Circle program, which is where we help you build out custom options bot portfolios for you. Now, this weekly call is to talk about three things. Number one, what is the market doing right now? Number two, what bots are winning and what does that mean with what we should be doing? And then number three, all your questions. So I'm going to get into the first one, which is the market overview. When we analyze the market, as you guys know already, for those of you here, we look at the market analysis indicator. This basically uses math to help us understand what trend we are in. So instead of drawing random lines or hoping and guessing that we're on the right trend, we use math. And so you can see right here that we are within this green zone, which means that we are bullish. If we look at the market, though, we keep hitting the same high. We hit the high here, we hit the high here. We're now at our third time today of hitting this high, and we have yet to break above it. So what does that mean? It means that we have a very clear and strong resistance. If we can break above, we'll see that next leg higher. If we can't, we'll probably see a next leg lower. So the market trend is currently a bullish trend, but we're stuck up against the resistance. My thought is we are still bullish, but we are looking to break above 7,050. If we look at the ES market, again, you can translate that into SPY or SPX, however you'd like. Basically, solid resistance. As soon as we break above, we're going to have a nice shoot up, leg up, bullish move. If we don't, we'll keep on coming to the downside, which means that we'll look for a break of support below 6,800. Now, how does that impact our bots? For you guys running an options bot portfolio, it affects you in no way at all. I say that because our bot portfolio is ideally made up of one bullish bot, one bearish bot, and they adjust to the trend as needed. So there's nothing we need to do. However, if we're looking at the top bots for this month so far, we're only 11 days into February. What we are seeing here is the top bots across the board. And what I mean across the board is the top three, but also the basically top six of the top eight are all futures bullish strategies. What does this tell you? This tells you that the futures bullish strategy is pretty good. So top bot is the futures bullish bot. Yes, right here from Daniel. Congrats to Daniel. 15 grand so far in the first 11 days of February. Absolutely, absolutely crushing it. No doubt there. And then we have David, who is using a bullish bot as well. Congrats to David. We talk a lot. It's cool to see you up there as well. He's up about $6,000 so far in February. And then we have, last but not least, Tafari up there with the futures bullish bot as well, $5,300. Definitely not nothing, considering we're not even halfway through the month. So really great returns. But what are we looking at? Their main strategy is the 1-1-1 strategy. So if you are not running the 1-1-1 strategy, highly recommend as your top bullish spot. However, something to keep in mind, the bullish spot is intended for futures. 1-1-1 was designed for futures market. If you're not trading on futures, you're not getting the ideal leverage. It's just best to do a put credit spread if you don't have access to futures. Anyways, with that said, I am running a 1-1-1 bot. We can dive into that later. It makes up probably, I don't know the numbers here. I max have 3 trades open on the 1-1-1 bot at a time. Each 1-1 bot at a take profit zone will make about $1,000. So this bot's making me about 2 to 3 grand a month. Then I have the rest of the profits coming from a put credit spread bot. Because they're diversified and I have them in both, I'm not really hitting the leaderboard because the combined profits would get near these levels, but not the separate profits. But anyways, enough about that. That is the top bots. My thoughts. Remember, your options bot portfolio should be simple. Just because other people are doing other things does not mean you need to change what you're doing, especially if it's working. Bullish bot, bearish bot, do nothing else. As you start to scale above 100 grand, you can add on more assets like crude oil, like gold, like something like that to diversify a little bit. As you cross 200, 250, you can start adding sideways spots and things like that. But remember, simple works best. Don't overcomplicate it. Just let the bots do their job. Now that we covered the market, which is we're bullish, looking to break above that $7,050 level, and that we covered the top bots, which is basically the bullish bots because we're in a bullish market. And the more sideways we are, let me go back here. The more sideways we are, the better our bullish spots do, ironically, because our long-term option selling strategy, whether it's a 1-1-1 or a simple put credit spread, or you're just selling a put, the more the market goes up and down and goes sideways, the more time we're killing, which means the more money we make from beta decay faster. That's where we're seeing the profits come from. Anyways, now moving to live Q&A. I'm going to pop open the chat box, see if there's any questions, but welcome in and thank you so much for tuning in. Bobby, Dale, Jen, Maria, Robert, Scott, Tron, and Vera. Glad you guys are here. Please let me know your questions inside the chat. Would love to be able to help. If it's something you want to speak on, let me know and I will enable it to turn your mic on. Anyways, welcome in. We got a great crowd today. I hope you guys are able to take something away from the trend. Is that basically, if I'm going to summarize everything I just covered so far while I wait for someone to ask a question, is nothing changing. Okay. Our bullish spots are absolutely crushing right now. We're keeping them running. We're watching the market, but really there's nothing to do because we have our stop losses set that, again, if you're doing futures, one of the greatest advantages, not only do you have a buying power advantage, meaning you make more money for the money you put up, but you also have your trades protected overnight, which is awesome. So yeah, Robert says, I'm good here to enjoy the update and the camaraderie. Absolutely. Very great crowd here. Again, I need to convert this from a webinar into a meeting so that we can all chat again and just turn our mics on, which we'll do. But right now, it's still strict as a webinar. Maria says, no questions, just hadn't been in here in a while. Wanted to see what everyone was up to. Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah, put in the chat, what are you up to right now? What bots are working the best for you? What is the strategy? How much have you made if that's worth sharing? Yeah, just share your thoughts and stuff over the market, over the bots over the last 3 months. Curious to see. We can all talk through it together. So yeah, so we have a trading view here. You can see we are hitting the solid resistance. Just need to push above it. We'll have that next leg higher, which again will be this next little resistance here that we see in the lines. This is how the market flows. So we look at the band, okay? The band will expand and get super wide. You can see here, super wide. Then it'll come in and consolidate, and then it'll make a push higher. So you can see here, we had a huge run up, consolidation, and then push, and then a huge rush up, consolidate. And so we're now in the consolidation phase. We're just waiting for that resistance to break and stuff like that. So anyways, I know a couple of people mentioned this, so that was cool. Yes, the beginning of the year, I think in January around the 1st, I released a ton of new logos that will change based on different holidays. So like Memorial Day, Veterans Day, we have a little Odie guy in a military uniform. We have St. Patrick's Day, Christmas, Thanksgiving, all that stuff. So those logos will all change. And so keep your eye out for that. It's just fun to see. We have a little love struck Odie today, which is cool to see. Again, if you're married, I hope you have plans for Valentine's Day. Use a little bit of the bot profits for your wife. Anyways, looks like no one's commenting in the chat how it's going. So I am curious y'all's top bots and things like that. But yeah, if we go to dashboard here, we can see I have my futures bullish bot right now. 3 trades open. That is my max for this bot. Why? Because I'm trying to constrain my max loss. I've had as much as 6 trades, 7 trades open at a single time. And then the market crashed and then, ooh, that was tough. So what I'm seeing here is let's just go extreme. My max loss on each one of these trades is 5,000. So that means 5,000, 5,000, 5,000, obviously a little less, but just for rounding. If all these trades hit my stop loss amount, I'm going to lose 15 grand, which is an amount that I'm comfortable with. And so, yeah, I really had to just cut that down, understand my risk, know what's happening to really limit the futures bullish bot. Although it absolutely is my favorite. We can look at performance data. It definitely has slowed down. Slown is not a word. Slowed down. You can see here, I was making 2 to 3, basically 3,000 a month, 3,500, 3,900, almost 3,000, 4,600, 4,500. And then December started to slow down because December is when I implemented, hey, this is how I'm changing my portfolio. This is what I'm doing, basically limiting it to 3 trades each. And you can see here that we're slowing down on the profits, but it's okay because my risk is dramatically down, which is good. This moving into this year was all about risk reduction. Now, because I only have the max risk of 15,000 on here and I'm okay with a 30 to 40% loss, so more around 30%. So you can see here the account's around 202,000 right now. With it being at 200, if I take a 30% loss, so let's say worst case scenario, all my trades hit a loss, what is that number that I'm okay with? For me, it's about 60 grand. And so 60 grand is that. So if I have 15 grand here, That means that I have another, what, 45 grand to be in trades. And so that's where this spot comes in. We can see I have a lot of trades open. Each one has a max risk of about 3,000. And not really much to say here, but 3 grand. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 21 grand at risk here. So 21 plus the other 15, we're at about 35 grand. So obviously I have more allocation to go to. These will keep putting on trades. What I absolutely love about this is sure my risk is 2,000, but for these trades, I'm putting up almost no money. Like it's crazy. $557. Do you guys understand the buying power for the single credit spread on ES? Again, this is because it's ES. ES gives you a ton of amazing buying power usage. But you see here, with my take profit factored in, which means I'll having about a 50% take profit, I'm going to make about $155 profit on this trade. Now, if we take 155 and we divide it by basically 600, that's a 25% return on the capital that I have up front. This trade takes about 2 weeks to close the trade, which means in a matter of 14 days, I've made a 25% return on my money. Crazy. That's why most of my money is now moving to this spot because it's great, but I still love the 111. You just get a really great return, really good bang for your buck. It's about a 15% return on your capital. Again, you put up about 8 grand, you make about 1,000. Yeah, about a 15, 16% return. Really great. Anyways, enough about my portfolio. Let's talk through questions since some came through. Robert and Maria are here just chilling, which is always welcome. Glad you guys are here. Dale says, how are we feeling about gold right now? We're still running that GC bot. I spoke to a couple, so there were two main people in this group, Kai and Jamie, that were running the GC bot, and they stepped back off the bot. And so again, it really just depends on how they're running. I never run the bot. Okay. I ran it once to test something for them, so I can't completely say that, but I'm not running that bot actively. And so what we're seeing here is that we definitely did have a huge crash here. Beware of that. But it seems to be trending when we're not in this open ranges. Something that we talked about, or that I talked about through with Jamie, who wanted to run this bot, is selecting the band zone to only run the GC bullish strategy when you're inside of this green zone. Okay. So when you're inside of the bullish band zone. Why is that great? Because you can see every time we get overextended into this red zone, the market tends to pull back and pull back hard. And you can definitely have quite, you can have pretty large losses. And so only running this in this bullish zone was one way to help them out to continue to run that strategy without having too much risk on the table, which again, I think risk is always the number one concern, which is why I dialed back my 111. But yeah, that was one option. Another option that we talked through was just making the spread width smaller. But I think Jamie and Kai are both looking to do something else with it, as in looking into a different asset. So we were exploring things like CL as another option, which running credit spreads on crude oil futures is great. But I personally think it's best below this middle line, hence why the middle line is a thing. When it's below the 200-day moving average, the bearish zone and the overextended zone here, this is when 111s, put credit spreads, all that stuff does best on crude oil. Because as you can see here, we're just historically looking at the market. When we break above, we tend to have a pullback, and we don't want to be in the pullback if we can avoid it. And right now, we're getting into that pullback zone again. So if we're trading crude oil, it's probably ideally want to being below here. Again, you can also just put on long puts or call credit spreads when you're above here, play the opposite, knowing that it's going to tend to drift towards the middle. It's another strategy. But yeah, the two people who are running the GC bots currently aren't running them for that reason, just because of risk. But also, I'm not familiar because I haven't been trading it, but apparently the buying power has increased. One of the negatives of trading futures, although it's amazing, is that your buying power can change. Now, it doesn't change much if you're trading a spread because it's pretty set. But when you're trading futures, the buying power can change throughout time based on the risk. And so when this crashed, buying power increased. So it was taking more money for them to make the same amount of money. And so it wasn't as advantageous. But anyways, so I'm not running it. I don't see anybody running it right now. That was just the background on some people that I talked to from this group, from the inner circle group, running the GC bots that were absolutely crushing it. They were doing so good with that bot. Okay, Trone says, for a live butterfly bottom running, Oat shows a $4,000 to $5,000 help per trade, but Tasty shows no buying power used. Why is that? So you're running a live butterfly bot. That's a great question, actually. I don't know, Tron. We pull the buying power directly from Tasty Trade. So whatever Tasty Trade tells us the buying power is, that's what we display. So I don't know why you're not seeing it on Tasty Trade. If you have the exact name of that bot, please shoot it to me in an email. I'll be like, hey, Austin, when I was talking, it was this specific bot, and I would love to look into it. But yeah, our system pulls that buying power directly from Tasty Trade. So it should be super accurate on our side. Scott says, what are your entry criterias on this bot? I don't know if you're talking about the GC bot or something else. Until I know more, I'll talk about this bot. Futures bullish bot and futures put credit spread bot, both together are my bullish bots that I'm running. So again, I have my bullish bot and bearish bot. I run those two together as my bullish. Both of these are running as bullish bots. What I mean by that is if you're an Oat Unlimited member, Oat Inner Circle, underneath entry rules, you have this new setting here called trend following settings, which nobody else has access to, but you can set the bot type to bullish, which basically means it's looking at our proprietary trend following indicator, this indicator right here, and it's only allowing me to run this bot when I'm inside of the bullish zone, which is this green zone, and when I'm in here for a dip buy, and yeah, so it's making sure this bot runs in the perfect market. So that PCS bot, put credit spread bot, is running as a bullish option. It's only in these indicator zones is it allowed to run. That way I reduce my risk in downside markets and overextended markets and things like that. For the exact entry rules, you can see here I have it multiple times a week, Tuesday and Thursday. So every single Tuesday and Thursday, I'm putting on a trade. This trade takes 3 weeks to come on. So I'm going to have what I have here, 6 trades open right now. I'll probably have 8 trades open at max, with each trade being about 4 grand. So that would be about 32 is what my max risk is on here. So my 32,000 plus my 15,000 gets me close to my 30% risk on the account. That's if all hit zero. They won't all hit zero. Again, there's a chance. I can't say that, but the likelihood of all my trades hitting zero is very small. The futures bullish spot is more likely to hit the stop loss than this one. Put credit spread bot, since the risk is already defined, this is the max risk based on the spread width. I just let that trade run all the way until 21 days. And so I put the trade on at the 90-day mark and I take it off at the 21-day mark. This allows the trade to have so much time that even if it's going against me, theta decay works in my favor as I'm giving it more time, and it just does wonderful. Even if the market crashes and my 111s hit their stop losses, very likely that the market recovers or gets close to break even, or at least stays above these strike prices, and all these trades hit the profit because they're just going through. Yeah. Let's see. Dale says, can you explain why you're managing the fee? Yeah. Oh, I didn't even see that question. I guess I answered it subconsciously here. But Dale says, why is the credit spread bot, the futures PCS, at 21 DTE? So the way that I run these bots, and ideally it's just best for these strategies, whether you're running it in a bot or manually, is if you're running undefined risk, your risk is potentially unlimited. So you want to put a stop loss on that. The futures bullish bot is an undefined risk trade, which means that I have the potential to lose an unlimited amount of money. So I put a stop loss on it so that if the market goes down a certain amount, I'm going to put that loss on it, because I know people who have lost 60 grand from a single 111 trade losing because they didn't have a stop loss on it. So you can lose so much money from an undefined risk trade that goes wrong, which is why I always have stop loss on undefined risk. Now, put credit spread, I am managing my risk based on the spread. So I just make sure my spread is small enough to make sure I'm okay with that risk. So I made sure the spread was a distance where I would have about a $2,000 to $3,000 max loss in any scenario. So I limit the loss using the spread, and then I let the trade go from 90 DTE all the way to 21. And if you run a back test on that, it has almost a 100% win rate. It's 99.5, because you let the trade run out and you give yourself more time. You already know your max risk and you're comfortable with it, so let the trade run. And that's the idea behind, if you have an undefined risk, put a stop. If you have defined risk, let it run, given you know what the defined risk amount is and you're okay with it. Tron says, am I thinking more about low BPE strategies like what you just showed? Yes, low DT strategies at 15 DTE. bot is my best one now. Yeah. Okay, cool. So he's saying low DTE are his best bots right now. That's awesome for sure. Run it. If you have a bot that's working well, keep it going. Okay. The only way to find out if that bot's going to lose is by letting it run. So let it run. As soon as you lose, take note of how the market has changed and understand, okay, cool, the market actually started to drop or the market this or that. And then when that happens, you're like, oh, okay, cool. I know to only run this bot in X market and turn it off during this market. And then you can even use the entry settings to make sure that happens. But yeah, if you have a bot, you can do it. Dale says, I like CL, but liquidity can be an issue. Definitely CL liquidity can be an issue. ES is by far the most liquid option, futures options you want to trade. From there, it goes to wherever. I feel like the volume alternates between CL and GC, and right now the volume is in GC, and then eventually the volume will be back in CL, and then it'll vice versa, it'll flop back and forth. Robert says, my bullish GC bot is doing okay, even though it entered at the top. Good job. Okay, yeah. So you kind of had that volatility reset where that spike went down, volatility went high, you had a huge loss, and then it's stabled out when and that volatility drops. Yeah, that's awesome. Vera says, Austin, how is your experience with the Mag 7 stocks or any other single stock strategies with OAT? Yeah, I'm a divert. You guys know me. Low risk, safe, let the money printer print. If it works and has been working, like these strategies I've been using, working for 3-4 years now that I've actually traded these exact same strategies, man, it's been great. So I just let them run. I don't look at anything else. I stay focused on, hey, one bullish spot, one bearish spot, both on the S&P 500, whether that's ES futures, SPY stock, or SPX index, whatever it is, let them run. If you have a Magnificent Seven stock, go for it. Those stocks are obviously very bullish in nature. They're some of the top stocks in the market, $1 trillion market caps almost. So yeah, go for it. You can do simple put credit spread strategies. Just I would make sure that you have entry settings on it around indicators. Specifically, you can use the trend following settings. If you set it to bullish type, and let's say you want to do something like Apple, I forget if Apple's in there, but I think it is, then yeah, only run it during these green zones or something like that to understand when it's best to run that strategy. But yeah, you can definitely do that. Tron says, "Oh, that's tasty about the buying power, but like no buying power for interesting." Yeah, send me what TC Trade says. I'd love to look at it. Gold, silver. I have good GLD and SLV strategies around with no big margin requirements. Like awesome, cool. Tron says he's running a gold strategy, but on the actual ETFs and the margin requirements aren't as big as a GC and obviously, it comes down to the percentage you're making on your money, but other than that, sounds good. It looks like GLD and SLV may be options as well. Again, you know this, but just to reiterate, the risk of doing ETFs is that you can't get out overnight. So if something does happen overnight, you do have some risk there. When the market opens, you'll get out as soon as you can, but it may be down quite a bit. But other than that, ETFs are great. Most of the market only has access to ETFs. Very few people are trading futures options like you guys. Barrett says, any ideas on how to run set up real strategy on OAT? Yeah, that's after brokers. So as you guys probably know, I'm working on order execution and making sure that it's fast, it's reliable, it's all good, which metrics are showing me that we're like upwards of 99% on the bot got triggered. And now it actually placed and confirmed a live trade. And we're doing all that in a matter of 10 seconds. And then we're closing trades in 5 seconds. So from the time we check the market, we exit, all that stuff, 5 seconds, which is crazy fast. So the orders are basically done, almost done with that part. Then I'm moving into brokers, adding brokers. Then from there, I'm adding great features that have been on the feature list for a while, which is stock-based strategy. So we're talking covered calls and we're talking wheel strategy. Maria says, yes, crazy fast. Love that. Maria's definitely watching. I don't know how she found out, but she probably pressed the green button that said enter trade now, and it entered like that. So yeah, that was the priority, is just making order execution reliable and super fast, which I would say over the last 2 weeks definitely made significant progress to that, decreased the load times, execution times, and things like that. So that is done. Now I'm moving to brokers. And then after that, moving on to really popular features that have been on the list for a while. So stock-based strategies. So covered calls, aka selling against stocks that you have, as well as a wheel strategy. Now, I still believe that unless you're trying to get in stock long term, a put credit spread or a futures bullish spot will be the best strategy for generating a return on your capital. However, if you're looking for an effective way to generate income to get into stock positions at a discount, wheel strategy is a great option for that as well. But if you're looking for return on capital, that's going to be put credit spread, futures bullish spot, or something like that. Scott says risk management is key. Absolutely. A lot of people don't know how much money they're willing to lose, right? When you look at your account value, what you need to understand is, okay, no matter how much money you have, 5 grand, 50 grand, 500 grand, how much of this am I comfortable losing? Okay. And then you make sure that the trades and the bots, you limit them so that if all the trades, again, it's very unlikely that all your trades hit zero, but you need to understand your max loss. If all your trades hit their max loss, total them together and make sure that risk number is something you're comfortable with. My risk number is around 50 grand, which is what? 25% of this account. I'm more than okay with that because, again, it's going to take time to rebuild an account, but on average, making 10 to 20%, 30% in good years, like I can easily make that back after one crash. Now, again, just know your risk, right? Dale says, is Bitcoin futures something that can be added to OAT? I don't know. Do Bitcoin futures have very liquid options? I don't know, Dale. I haven't looked into it. I will make note to look into it as soon as I get off this. But yeah, if anything has liquid options with a very small bid to ask spread, then I would love to add it. We just gotten to the point where we've added all the assets that are very liquid and do have small bid ask spreads because we don't want you to get screwed when you're entering and exiting if there's large bid ask spreads. All right. Looks like we had a very good call today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will just talk a little bit just to give you guys some time to put in any final questions, but that's about it. The market is trending in a bullish zone. We are in the bullish band. We are trying to break above the high right here. If we break above the high, we'll probably see a nice push up to this level right here being 7,300. If we break down, we'll be fine. Our bots will start turning on the bearish bots right here. So we'll start getting that protection by default. Otherwise, let the portfolio do its thing. If you have any questions about your portfolio, you're welcome to schedule a one-on-one call with me. For any Unlimited members, you have that advantage. Ferris says, any updates on the options trading toolbox? Nothing right now. The options trading toolbox is second to the options auto trader. And so there's still things that need to be done, like brokers, like wheel strategy, stock strategy, things like that. And then moving on to the toolbox, which is going to be, as I'm sure, because you've been asking, is going to be things like improved back tester for smaller, what do you call it? Smaller time frames, like a 1 minute frequency. Yeah. Anyways, good crowd today. Thank you guys so much. I am glad you guys were here. Robert says, thank you. Truly my pleasure. I cannot be doing this without you guys. So thanks again, Dale, Jen, Maria, Robert, Scott, Trone, and Vera. So glad you guys were here. Look forward to seeing you guys next Wednesday. Again, we do this every single Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. market time. Look forward to seeing you. It's always a blast. Anyways, guys, thank you for being here. I will see you next week. Enjoy the rest of your week.